All right, welcome everyone to Wednesday night. It's good to see all of you. And I don't know, it's good. It's so good to be in this building with you all, and it's encouraging, and I enjoyed talking with you and hearing what God's doing in your heart, and I'm excited for some ministry taking place all over this. We kind of have like the Faith Baptist Church campus now. So we're in, I don't know, the middle campus, and then we've got the north campus and the south campus. No, I'm just kidding. But we got ministry going on all over the place, which is great, but we're glad you're here and excited for the work God's going to do in our heart tonight. So I don't know, what's the song, Dad? I think Great is Thy Faithfulness, I think is what I have picked there. So you're in charge of the slides tonight. I don't have the clicker. So Great is Thy Faithfulness. Let's go ahead and sing. Aren't you glad God's faithful? Which is, as crazy as our world is, as up and down and chaotic as our world is, God never changes. He is always faithful. He is always the same. Let's sing Great is Thy Faithfulness. Just the first and the last verse together tonight. Great is Thy faithfulness, O God, my Father. There is no shadow of turning with Thee. Thou changest not, Thy compassions, they fail not. As Thou hast been, Thou forever wilt be. Great is Thy faithfulness, great is Thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, Thy hand hath provided. Great is Thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Pardon for sin and a peace that endureth, Thine own dear presence to cheer and to guide, strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow, blessings all mine with 10,000 beside. Great is Thy faithfulness, great is Thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, Thy hand hath provided. Great is Thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Amen. Trust you have seen God be faithful to you this week. I know I have. And it's so encouraging to serve a faithful Lord. Okay, Pastor Stevens, would you come on up and lead in the Bible study and time of prayer?
I will be glad when VBS is over so we get a few more folks back in here. Okay, could I get someone to pass out the outline and also someone to pass out prayer sheets? If I can get two guys, please. I told you last week I put them on the back table, but I lied. Okay, we will be in a familiar chapter, I'm sure, to everyone, 1 Corinthians 13. Now remember what we've been studying for quite some time now. We just finished the series on spiritual gifts. And last couple of weeks we're back into 1 Corinthians 12. And 1 Corinthians 12 deals with unity in diversity. And so everybody is different. We all have different backgrounds, different abilities, and the list just goes on and on and on. And of course this chapter is about the fact that we all have different gifts. That doesn't mean everybody does, but there are different gifts. And so as I look at some of you, I think to myself, yeah, I think that's what that person has. I think that's what gift that person has, and so on. But that's between you and the Lord to decide. Now, unity in spite of diversity, and it emphasizes the Holy Spirit. There's only one Spirit. By one Spirit, we're all baptized into one body, and so on. Been looking at that. But then the verse, chapter 12, verse 31, closes this way. Yet I show unto you a more excellent way. And that way is, somebody can tell me in one word. Love. And that's what chapter 13 is about. Now why, think to yourself this, why is love a more excellent way? Think of all we've been studying in 1 Corinthians. Did the church at Corinth have great unity? Somebody go like this. No, just the opposite. They had great diversity. And one of the ways that demonstrated itself was in that they wanted to be the ones in the limelight. They wanted to be the ones that had, in their estimation, the more important gifts, the speaking gifts, the gifts that were public. They felt like those were the most important, and therefore the people that had those gifts were more important. So why would love be a more excellent way?
Certainly because God is love.
Okay.
So that would be something that would be very important to Him for us to have.
Absolutely.
Everyone can have.
Absolutely. Linda.
Well, love unifies.
Okay. Yeah. And I think those two things put together are basically what I'm looking for. People who are arrogant about what their gift happens to be, or as the chapter has also demonstrated, those who feel like they're inferior because they didn't get that special kind of gift, demonstrates a lack of love among the members. And we've emphasized the fact that there are several different kinds of gifts still today. Many of those have passed away. They were no longer necessary. Revelation is complete. There's no new revelation given today. But there still are spiritual gifts, and we listed off a number of those. And so each person exercising their gift, each person finding a ministry in the church, and again, let me emphasize over and over and over, it's important that every member has some kind of ministry in the church to the church. Very important. That's where we find real joy, in serving God and the abilities that He's given us. But if we don't do it in love, what happens to the unity? Poof. So, this is the more excellent way. And the first three words on my introduction are God is love. So, Andrea, you hit it right on the nose there. And we should want to be like God. So spiritual pride and what kind of spirit go hand in hand? I know that's kind of vague, but who can figure out what I'm asking for here? Spiritual pride and a blank spirit go hand in hand. If I guess that one?
Critical spirit.
Okay, that's really close to it. Yeah, basically what I said was judgmental, but critical. Yeah, sure. So a proud person not only thinks they're above everybody else, but then obviously at the same time they're thinking other people are beneath them. And so spiritual pride, a judgmental spirit go hand in hand, or critical spirit. And the church at Corinth had a problem with both in several areas. Now, the church did, as Paul said early in the book, they had some highly gifted individuals in the church. But remember, Corinth came out, the Christians at Corinth came out of a horribly pagan, immoral culture. And there's a whole lot of rethinking and applying biblical truth, learning and applying biblical truth that has to go on in their lives. And yes, those gifted individuals are highly to be desired, but there's a serious lack, a more excellent way. And so as we work our way through this, I think the challenge personally to each one of us is measure your own love. I don't know about you, but I lament the fact that I love myself too much. Now, we're not supposed to go around hating ourselves and thinking, woe is me, that type of thing. But when we put ourselves above other people, that's what we're doing. We're loving ourselves. And the Bible tells us that we ought to put ourselves last and demonstrate love. So if you're using the outline, number one, we're looking at the preeminence of love in the first 3 verses. And first of all, A is the preeminence of love over eloquence. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and have not charity or love, literally, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. Now, I know Pastor has worked his way through this not too long ago, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. But just to point out, first of all, that the word tongues here obviously means languages. And it refers, I believe, to fluency or eloquence of speech. I do not believe that it's talking about a specific language that angels have. Because why would God enable a person to speak with an angelic language? Because all they could speak to was angels. Nobody else would understand him. So I don't believe it's talking about a special language that angels have. I believe it's talking about fluency or eloquency. Some people are just gifted speakers. That's one attribute I have never been able to really develop. But some people have that. And so it's one who was an extremely gifted orator. So you might be able to wow people. You might be able to move people like Hitler did and other famous orators have in the past. Just move people to do whatever. And be really gifted in that way. But if you are, as a Christian, speaking eloquently but not demonstrating love, how effective is your ministry going to be? That was not a rhetorical question. Somebody say, it will be very okay, thank you.
Well, it might have a degree of success for a while, but pretty soon, the lack of love will make people think that they don't care and
Yeah.
they'll turn away.
Yeah. Let's use the illustration of parents and children. If all the kids hear from us is do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that, do it when I say to do it the way I say to do it, when I say to do it, is that going to win their hearts? It might give them some discipline, it might give them some manners or whatever, but no matter how eloquent we are in our lectures to our kids, if we're not demonstrating love goes a long way in working with kids. You can make mistakes and you can come back to them and say, hey, I was wrong, I shouldn't have said that, I shouldn't have done that, will you forgive me? And man, oh man, I said 99% of the time the kids are going to say yes, of course, when they see that love that we have for them. So people don't really respond the way they ought to if they sense that you really don't care about them. Here you are trying to teach spiritual truth, and you really don't care about them as a person. So Paul we could rephrase what he's saying here, something like this. If I have an IQ or a high IQ, if I have an impressive education, or if I hold high positions, or I attain significant achievements, or I'm an eloquent speaker, or on and on it goes, but my speech demonstrates no love, what does he say? I'm becoming as a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal, just, irritating. And that's the last thing we want to do with our kids, last thing we want to do with people we're trying to minister to. So what does our speech, listen to this one, what does our speech say about our love, the way we talk to people? I think we should think long and hard on that one. What kind of message comes across in the way we speak to people, the way we respond to people? So the preeminence of love, first of all, over eloquence, secondly, over spiritual gifts, in verse 2. And though I have the gift of prophecy, and understand all mysteries, and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I could remove mountains and have not charity or love, I am nothing. Now, we know that in Paul's day, there still were those who had the gift of prophecy. There still were those who had the gift of revelatory knowledge. There still were those who had that special gift of understanding. I believe faith is still one of the spiritual gifts today, but he's just giving a list of gifts here. And I don't believe there's any significance in the one he's picked out. He's just for instance. So these would have been some of the more prominent gifts in the early church. And so it's a person that maybe has a great knowledge of the Bible. Well, I'll respect somebody who has a great knowledge of the Bible, because that's not something that comes easily. After 3 years of Bible college and 4 years of seminary, I still had to do and still have to do a lot of studying to understand certain parts of the Bible. And so this individual might have a great knowledge of the Bible. They may be a capable teacher, perhaps have been used of God in some special way in the past. But the Holy Spirit inspires Paul to write about this person. Without love, they're nothing in God's sight. Thirdly, the preeminence of love over benevolence. First part of verse 3. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, bestow all my goods to feed the poor. Now, this word that's translated charity, or elsewhere in the New Testament love, is of course the Greek word agape, which means the love that only God has and God is able to then bestow upon us so that we can love each other that way. What do you think would be the primary attribute of agape love? The way it would be demonstrated most obviously.
Service, serving people.
Close, really close. In order to serve people, one has to first self-sacrifice. To me, is the primary demonstration of love. Putting others first. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. And God's love is certainly a sacrificial love. God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son. Now that flies in the face of modern culture, where it's, all about me, all about the individual, and everybody else can take care of themselves. We might minister to somebody else, but it's just so we can maybe get something out of them or something for ourselves because of doing it. But agape love is always self-sacrificing. Having said that, is self-sacrifice always motivated by love? No. What other motivation might there be for self-sacrifice?
Pride.
Sure. Look at me, everybody. Look what I'm doing.
This is like an angle of that. This idea of heroism
Okay, yeah. How many of you have known people who just always want to do for you because they want you to accept them and they think that's the way to get your acceptance or your admiration? Okay, can you think of another one?
I think of Catholicism, people doing things, making themselves selfless, priests living a life of self-sacrifice in order to merit their way to heaven.
That was the third one I was looking for. Say, excellent. Y'all are doing a great job tonight. Yeah, it's almost like earning God's approval. We have examples, historic examples of that. People who have just basically given up everything and lived a life of self-sacrifice and sometimes weren't even saved, but at least doing it for the wrong reason. So one could give everything that he had without love and receive no reward. Profiteth me nothing. And then last part of verse 3, the preeminence of love over even martyrdom. And though I give my body to be burned and have not love, it profiteth me nothing. So there have been historically some who have actually sought martyrdom in order to gain credit with God. That's pretty much the ultimate way of trying to earn God's acceptance, God's approval. Now, probably in the last part of verse 3 here, Paul has in mind the most sacrificial act possible. I mean, what could you do more, dramatically than give your life for a certain cause? Now, is it wrong to give your life for a certain cause? Well, no, if that's what God calls us to do. And here in America, that just seems like something that we would never, ever encounter. But, maybe not. I would hope not, but maybe so. So not all suffering for good, again, is motivated by love. So the eloquent person who wows people with their persuasive ability and don't have love, they're not effective as they could be. And the person who is very gifted spiritually, like many of the people at Corinth were, but they didn't have love. Sounding brass, just irritating. Pride just irritates people and turns them away. Or the person who gives, but doesn't love. Or the person who even gives their life. In every case, any other motive than love results in profitlessness. And I can't believe it's 9:30 already. Bedtime?
9:30. Did you say 9:30?
Did I? Well, it feels like 9:30. I have a hard time with that clock. I can't. It's hard to tell what time it is. Okay. 7:30. Did I say? Yeah. No. Okay. Boy. And this next section is kind of long. So, I hate to just stop halfway through it. Let's do a little bit of number 2, the properties of love. The first part of verse 4. Charity or love suffereth long. And so A is the essence of love. Love suffers long. Let's just think about those 3 words. What would that look like? Does it mean the person has a lot of difficult things in their life? All kinds of trials? No. But what would it mean that love suffers long? Anybody got a clue? Yeah.
Puts up with a lot.
Yeah, I think that's kind of nails it right on the head. Puts up with a lot. Love is not quick to assert its rights. Love is not quick to resent an injury. How dare you suggest that I might be wrong, or something like that. In other words, love will take pretty much anything from other people. Now, that doesn't mean we just, lay down and let people walk all over us. We have to take these things in context, especially the larger context of the Bible. But it's a person who is forgiving instead of resentful. They will put up with a lot from other people and not retaliate. They're not quick-tempered. Don't fly off the handle easily. They're forgiving instead of resentful. And secondly, love is kind. Now, in that love suffers long, it takes basically anything from others, but in that love is kind, it gives basically anything to others. The word kind, the Greek word, means manageable, mild, pleasant, benevolent, virtuous, or serving. It can mean, depending on the context. Manageable, mild, pleasant, benevolent, virtuous, serving. Love works for the welfare of others. Now, I can't read this, I can't speak on this without being convicted, because so many times self gets in the way. I want it done my way. If you don't do it my way, what's wrong with you? My way is better. Demonstrates no love. And we can fail in many ways, but if people see that we love and we're trying to succeed and we're trying to do right, it goes a long, long way. God is love. His primary attribute is maybe holiness, maybe love, I don't know. Can you say there's a primary attribute with God? But certainly, we are to emulate that attribute. Okay, I think we'll just stop there. Any comments or questions tonight?